I'm Edmunds editor Mark Takahashi, and we're sitting around a table with editor Jay Kavanagh and Travis Langness, and we just got out of the second day of the 2017 Detroit Auto Show, better known as the North American International Auto Show, and we're going to go over our impressions. We'll start with Jay Cav. Jay Cav, what did you see? Actually, what did you cover that we should know about?
I covered the 2018 all-new Toyota Camry, which, you know, people think of it as boring, but it's really still a significant car. I mean, crossovers sales have taken over mid-size sedan sales in recent years, but man, they still sell a lot of Camrys. So it's a hugely significant car in the segment, and it's all new. They went crazy with the styling. I don't know if you saw it, but well, I'm sure you did, but it's very bold styling especially from Toyota, which historically not known for getting really aggressive with styling.
Bold is a good word for it, but I thought it lacked a certain elegance. When it comes to design in that segment, I think the leader is more along the lines of the Kia Optima, despite its few flaws. Yeah, Camry seems to have been design challenged for a while. This, I think, is an improvement. Fortunately, that's completely subjective, and you know what we think is unattractive, someone might actually really like.
I think it depended too on the color. There were three pretty broad color choices on the Camry. There was one that was like a two-tone with like this really dark midnight blue on top, and then like a white pearlescent on bottom, and that just looked so un-Camry. But then you went over a little bit on the podiums. There was one there that was kind of a deep maroonish color, and it looked a little bit classier to me. You know, that was a better version of the Camry. But definitely, I agree with Mark's take on it too. It is, you know, a little bit better than the last one. I like the styling for sure. It's improved.
But this car, you know, it's also got an all-new platform. It's got a new four-cylinder, a V6 from the Highlander, an 8-speed transmission. They've also divided the styling themes up into two different groupings, where you've got the sporty red one that was on the stand, and you've also got a little bit more toned down one. And so I think they're trying to make a more concerted effort to appeal to more buyers than already buy Camrys, which is a lot.
Right on. Travis, what did you cover?
One brand specifically that I covered was Volkswagen, and they had two different reveals at the show. The first was a new long wheelbase Tiguan, and the second was a concept car, the ID Buzz. The Tiguan, even some of the Volkswagen people were a little bit obscure on whether or not all new Tiguans were going to be long wheelbase, but this one grew by about 11 inches, and it gets an optional third row, which is kind of big for that segment. The CR-V, the CX-5, neither of those have an optional third row. The Rogue does, but that's pretty rare in that segment. And then also that car got a lot of safety features it didn't have before. A lot of cool stuff like 360-degree camera, adaptive cruise control. But then the more kind of flashy one was the ID Buzz, which was or Bus. It's their kind of callback, throwback to the microbus. And it's all electric, which is the ID family for Volkswagen. It's going to be all electric. And this one had a projected range on the American cycle of 270 miles, which is big. That's real close to the biggest electric competitors on the market.
Will we actually see this go to production, you think?
You know, that's interesting. I don't think the way it looks, it will go to production. It's, you know, got these kind of slide rails where the center stack can slide all the way to the back seat, and it's only got 2 rows for a car that could easily fit 3. You know, it's kind of auto show flashy. It doesn't even have a real steering wheel. It's got this articulating kind of thing that comes out of the dash. But definitely the technology could go to production. You know, if they can fit that many batteries in the floor and proof of concept works out, it'll be especially good for them to fill that gap that diesel has left in kind of Volkswagen's lineup, you know, for people that want an efficient car.
Right on. On my side, I covered the F-150, which is obviously one of the best-selling or the top-selling vehicle of all time in the U.S. It received a slight styling refresh in the grille, bumpers, and tailgate, but the big news was a 3-liter turbo diesel engine is finally going to join the lineup. So it should be kind of that mid-level between the EcoBoost and the 5-liter V8. Should be great for hauling and towing and fuel efficiency as well. They're also getting a bunch of new safety features, adaptive cruise, and with frontal collision with pedestrian detection and adaptive cruise will actually go down to a stop. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it seemed kind of like the big story this year in a lot of the cars, or at least like a unifying theme, I thought, that most of the cars that you hadn't seen safety features like that on before got them. Everybody's kind of getting on board that train of realizing that even if it's not standard, they want those optional safety trims.
Yeah, absolutely. That's especially when it comes to mass market stuff where you're going to be taking a lot of passengers and family members. And speaking of family members and people movers, the Honda Odyssey got its debut in Detroit. And I have to say, I'm not a minivan guy, but this thing was really impressive as far as its smart features. On the outside, it definitely looks like an Odyssey. And it's got a V6, but that's not the news. The big news is the features inside. So they have the Magic Slide second row where you can actually slide it laterally. There's several positions, so you can put a kid in a child seat in the doorway and slide them to the center position so you can still access them while you're on the road. Then there's other thoughtful features like the camera that looks down into the passenger compartment. So as a driver, you can monitor your passengers, whether they're kids or whatever, as well as communicate with them through the speakers or the rear entertainment center headsets. So all this stuff is really smartly done with real families in mind.
Yeah, leave it to Honda to come up with these innovative, clever things. I mean, it's kind of what they're known for. And then not only that, but you look at the interior of the Honda, that new Odyssey, and it's really pretty. Like, it's a gorgeous execution, taking the concept of the minivan from being a necessity that you just sort of begrudgingly accepted to an executive shuttle almost in the touring trim. And they've taken that to the next level, I think, with the new Odyssey's interior.
So elsewhere in the show, there was one that got a lot of buzz, and it was the Kia Stinger. Personally, I really like the styling of it, and I know that's subjective, but it has some really good proportions. A long hood, kind of sweeping, tapering tail and roofline, and it's got some real grunt too. It doesn't compete directly with a lot of cars that I'm about to mention, but styling-wise, I liked it a lot better than the Alfa Romeo, and I'm a big fan of Italian design. So I'm not sure if that says something more about Kia or Alfa Romeo.
I'm going to disagree. I think the Stinger was overwrought. I didn't think that the styling worked in person really at all, and a lot of it had to do with add-on chrome features and perforations in the nose, and it just looked like they fussed over it and maybe just overdid it.
I think I'm going to fall right in between your two opinions because I'm still holding kind of my verdict on this car. I want to know how much it's going to cost, and there was some talk about that, but really the important part to me is going to be how much does this nice, fast, pretty good looking, although that's subjective, car, how much is it going to cost, and just how fast is it? I'm really excited to test it though, and it was definitely interesting to see a Kia steal the show. Really, everybody was pretty, surrounding of that car. Everybody kind of packed in to see what it was like at the event and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, and definitely the fact that they have a former BMW chassis engineer heading up this program gives it a lot more credibility than it might have had otherwise, knowing how Kia Hyundai products in terms of dynamics and ride and handling, and they're still trying to figure that out. So having that guy on board really bodes well for the future of the car, but we won't know until we know. And I'm looking forward to driving it, that's for sure.
Thanks for joining me, Travis Langness and Jay Kavanagh. I'm Mark Takahashi. Let us know what you think. We'd love to hear your opinions on all of these topics. Drop us a line and let us know. Thanks for joining us.